there, my name is Femi Akonde, and you're watching The Big Issue. Thank you. Well, the ground rule is wedding bells should come before babies, meaning a man and a woman must come together in marriage before setting out to have children. Well, as they say, rules are meant to be broken. Putting carriage, and I mean pregnancy, before marriage now seems to be the new trend. And of course, this has surged and provoked debates about ringless parents. Some have questioned the societal values of holding marriage as a precondition to starting a family, while some feel tying the knot should be the ticket to pumping the pot. What's your stand? Is marriage before children a necessity? Stay with us. We are about to provoke an interesting debate here today. You're watching The Big Issue. Welcome back. An interesting debate we're going to have here today, and of course it is marriage before children a necessity? Well, to debate this very interesting topic, I have Ezefua Erabo. A round of applause for Ezefua Erabo. Please come up stage. Take this side of the podium. Ezefua Erabo is a life behavioral and parent and child well-being coach. Am I correct?
Yes, you
are. All right then. And she is Africa's emerging voice and thought leader on intentional, positive parenting and wholehearted living. Welcome her once again. On the flip side, I have Hannah Izehi. Let's welcome Hannah Izehi. Come up stage, ma'am. Well, today it's a woman's world. Take this side. And Izehi, on the other side of the divide, is an associate of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, a sociologist, a writer, and an inspirational teacher that addresses issues relating to young women. Anna believes marriage should be a certification for having kids. Why do you hold strongly onto that standpoint that marriage should be a certification? It should be marriage before talking about children.
Okay, thank you very much. In the beginning, I'm a third person, and I'll start by that. You know, in the beginning, when God made Adam and Eve, he didn't bring children first. He brought Adam, then he brought Eve, and children what came later. So now if you ask me, what is marriage? Marriage is the union of a man and a woman, not the union of having children first. So any person that brings a condition that you must have children before marriage, I think is an error on his part in the society. So as far as I'm concerned, marriage should come first before having children.
Marriage should come first before having children. But you are saying that it's not necessary. If the children come, fine. We can have marriage later.
So within the context of this conversation, I recognize that there are circumstances that would bring children first before marriage. I honor marriage, and I do believe that children should come within the context of marriage. However, there are certain circumstances that life throws at us where children will be born outside of the context of marriage.
But those circumstances can be controlled.
Yes, circumstances be controlled, but some are unavoidable. For example, a lady gets raped. She gives birth to a baby, and there is no father to that baby.
Those are exceptional cases.
Yes, so I think we need to consider the exceptional cases, or a situation where even a careless teenager has a baby, and she gives birth to a child. So I think that the bigger picture should actually be, what is the purpose of having a child in the first place? The fact that I am married does not guarantee that the children I would bring into that marriage will succeed. What then guarantees that these children would succeed? Do I have enough skill as a human being to even nurture the child I'm bringing? So I think those are the bigger questions we should be asking.
Marriage does not guarantee that the children within the marriage will thrive. So what happens to some of those exceptional cases that she has pointed out where children are born out of wedlock? Would those children thrive or not? Or is it like, or should that be like a worst case scenario?
Like you said, whether it's a worst case scenario or not, you know, I still stand to say that. That itself is an exception, you know. But I want to look at it from this angle, that if I need to get married to somebody, and he's giving me a condition that, look, because of the rate of which people are having abortion all over the place, and there's this issue of infertility, I want us to have children before marriage. I want to test you. Children are products of marriages. They are fruits of marriages. They are not to be attached, or they are not to be conditions of, you know, getting married. So if one is attaching conditions for having children for getting married, then I think there's a problem somewhere.
All right.
That's what I stand to do.
Now, I don't know if you would agree that what she is saying, that two people coming in a relationship would first want to have babies to ascertain their maybe fertility level before, before they can go ahead with marriage. They first want to, like, maybe sometimes they want the lady, the female, to first be pregnant or to first have kids before they can say, yes, that is a condition for going ahead into marriage. So what happens in that kind of case?
So I always love to look at things within the context of what exactly the challenge is. In that regard, I do not even think the challenge is the fact that they should get married or not get married. I think it's a bigger issue, a bigger social issue of disrespect to the woman. That is what I think. I don't even think it's more the issue of, if you do not marry me, then it is the woman that has to make a choice, so that she needs to treat herself with dignity and with honor and go ahead or not. So it's a bigger issue. It's not just, you must first marry me, then we check that you have a child, or before. It's just the same challenge with sex before marriage and all of that. It's more a respect and regard and an honor issue as a human being, not just necessarily a rule of, I should have a baby before or not. So that is the angle from which I choose to look at that.
Okay. Some people have said that marriage is not for everybody. There are people that would not want to get married, but they still want to have kids.
They don't want to have kids. But my challenge is this: how secured are those kids? How do you allow children? I had somebody saying 2 days ago, she said...
But that again would be intentional parenting. Yeah, wanting to have kids without getting married.
You're saying, I just want to borrow your word. How secure are those kids? So the question I ask is, are you suggesting that it's just it is just the idea that a man and a woman coexist? That is what creates security in children. Let me tell you what science is saying towards research. So I love the fact that you say a person of faith. I'm 100% a person of faith. And I also love science, because science tells us how the world works. Science is telling us right now that it takes the presence of one responsive adult for a child to thrive. And the caveat there is the word responsive. That simply means when you have two irresponsive adults, a child will not flourish. So we can keep talking about marriage, and not talk about the issues even within marriage. I know that outside of marriage there are issues, but I'm saying within marriage, for us to even create the honor within marriage, then we should talk about the skills the parents need to develop, and not just say marriage is enough. No.
Anna, she has raised some concerns, issues in marriage, and these issues are real. And the children, of course, most times are the ones on the receiving end. So how do you handle these issues if we must stick to that idea of marriage and seeing it as something that is maybe sacred, as something that must be established before children comes to the picture?
I heard a young lady saying 2 days ago, you know, she said in her own, where she comes from, you know, because her stepmother was not legally married to their father, when the father passed on, there was nothing given to her and the children because they were not legally married. Now I'm going to the area of security. You know, when the marriage or the union, you know, is not, there's no legal union, you know, so it's not committed in the proper way. Now, what happens to the future of the children? Now, she said her stepmother has to go and pay her dowry by herself before she can have a part of the inheritance of her late husband. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking about securing, securing children in relationship, securing children in the context of marriage relationship. So, if we are saying abuse, they are out there. There are social vices happening everywhere. They are there. So, but I'm talking of security, securing a child's future. That okay, your father has passed, your mother passed. This is what is entitled to you. This is what the will of the father is saying. But a child who is not in a very legal situation might not have a right to such will and inheritance. That's my point.
Social security.
So I do hear you, and I think what I hear you talk about is emphasize financial security for the children, which is important, but there are other forms of security that the child needs. There is emotional security that the child needs. There is physical security that the child needs. There are all those other forms of security that the child needs. And by the way, there are single mothers that are providing, or even single fathers, because I think we talk too much about single mothers. I have met single fathers in the course of my work who are raising their children alone for many reasons. And to be honest, they are doing amazing. Amazing. Yeah, they're doing amazing because they are parenting purposefully. They recognize the absence of a companion, and they're doing something about being alone. So I agree, financial security, but there are single fathers and single mothers that are also providing that security if your focus is just financial security. So there are other forms of security. I think that we should consider that whether marriage is providing that security, and how can we make marriage provided, and if other circumstances that have made children to be born outside of wedlock, if those circumstances are providing that security, are we going to kill them?
Wow.
No.
Well, a round of applause for our debaters, Ezefua and Anna. Well, we'll take a quick break at this point. When we return, it will be time for the Fire for Fire segment, where Anna and Ezefua will go neck on neck. Don't go away, you're still watching The Big Issue. Welcome back. It's time for Anna and Ezefua to get neck on neck in the Fire for Fire segment. Well, in this segment, you ask yourselves questions. Of course, it's an argument. You can interject her, likewise you, at any point. And of course, the ground rule is decorum. Go ahead. The ball is in your court. Fire.
Okay, I would like to ask a question. You said that we're talking about single mothers, there's also single fathers. But my question is this: can one hand wash clean? Can two hands not wash clean? How are you telling me that one hand can wash clean than the other? They're telling me that a single father is doing it fine. But I can tell you that it's not possible for it to be so.
Anna,
extremely possible for it to be so.
Anna, I agree that one hand cannot wash clean, but the second hand must not necessarily be the mother or the father. We just said it takes a village to raise a child. Within the context of certain circumstances that these single fathers or single mothers find themselves, we do have what we call social supports, where as a single parent, you would seek either an uncle within the family, a friend within the family, to support you to navigate the challenges that you have to deal with. I'm not suggesting that you stand alone and suffer. Rather, I'm saying when push comes to shove and you find that this is the circumstance I found myself in, there is no need to beat ourselves and deny the reality of what's happening in our society. It is to focus on the solution. This has happened. How do we go forward? How do I support myself, and how do I support this child to thrive? I cannot keep crying over not having a husband or a wife.
Well, your statements keep being a single mother or being a single father. But my challenge is this: should we encourage single mothers? Should we encourage one being? Because we know that being a single mother on its own is a burden. Being a single father on its own is a burden. It has social burden, it has economical burden, it has all forms of burden.
Yes, it does.
If you ask me, I'm not of the opinion that it's not.
Yes, it does have a burden. This is the direction of my conversation. It has a burden. And I recognize that burden. And because I recognize that burden, I'm suggesting that the focus should stop being on how it's not going to work, rather how can it work? Because we cannot eliminate the reality that that would happen to some girl, some woman, some man, some boy one day. When it happens, do we hang them, or do we find a solution for those children? My concern is not even the adults. My concern is the children within that situation, for them to thrive. The same way you find couples within a union that is only the one hand, the woman is washing her hand and she's married alone. I meet them every day. In marriages, the man is washing his hand and he is alone. So like you said, marriage is a certificate before you have a baby. Yes, they have this certificate of marriage, but they are suffering. They may even be suffering much more than single mothers and fathers.
They are suffering, but at least they have the certificates for crying out loud.
And what does it do when they're suffering?
Certificate for crying out loud.
What am I going to do?
You are legally married.
Anna, I have a certificate. And what does it do if you're married?
Excuse me. Maybe another point. Another point she's making is that if a child is in the picture, or if two people agree to bring a child into this world, that intentional parenting, that means they have agreed to take on the responsibility of raising that child, not necessarily in marriage, but because they have agreed to raise that child, they can as well raise that child better than other people that are even in marriage.
So my question is this: how would the child feel? Excuse me. How would the child feel that the parents are just living? They are not legally married. How would the child feel?
And I'm going to ask
kind
you,
of security?
Can I ask you also?
No,
how does a child feel?
Feels louder than words crying out loud.
Anna, but how does a child feel when they watch their father give their mom dirty slaps every morning? How does a child feel when they go to school and they know that their parents are fighting at home? So I think there is a bigger question. I deal with these people every day. I think there is a bigger question. You say that at least they are married. Are you saying the legal aspect of marriage should be That's not what I'm saying.
So what are you saying?
Listen to what I'm saying carefully. I am saying that marriage is not a yardstick for a child to succeed.
So what
marriage is not a yardstick for a child to succeed is when the adults within the context of nurturing that child are responsive,
adults
are capable.
Are they just cohabiting adult or married adults?
So Anna,
I want to know the adult you're talking about.
Anna, cohabiting
the adult, is it,
or married?
Sorry, the adult you're talking about now, is it married adults or those who are just living together?
Anna feels marriage is also a sense of responsibility, and you cannot give what you don't have.
Exactly.
So as parents who are not married, she sees it as they are not, in a way, not responsible. So they may not be responsive enough to bring up their children with good values and morals.
So I would ask
you, bring a child and not responsible?
Anna and those in the crowd, that young girl at 13 that was raped, she was raped. Are you telling me she was irresponsible? Because do you know why this is a big challenge? This is what society does to women and men who find themselves in circumstances that are out of their control. They are already dealing with the pain of abuse. And you stand out there and you point your fingers at them and telling them they are responsible because they are holding a little child who has no father or mother. You have no idea what they had to deal with, what they are healing from. You do not know what that girl is healing from or what that man is healing from. And you're pointing your fingers. Who are you to cast a stone? What's your own stone?
The issue there is this. Are you now saying on that basis that people should not be legally married before bringing children to this world?
I am very mindful.
That is my question.
Pay attention to my words.
Are you saying adults should not be legally married before bringing children to this world?
Anna, pay attention to my question, my response.
No, you should just answer this question. Answer the question. Answer it.
Answer to the question. Out loud. The answer to my question to you.
Don't sound as if you are encouraging people just, as a young lady, just getting pregnant. Okay, just, just get pregnant and just don't worry, we'll accept you.
Anna,
now let me ask you a question.
Anna,
if your child gets pregnant,
to answer your question.
If your daughter gets pregnant for marriage and said, "Mommy, I want to get married, but you know what? I'm 4 months pregnant," will you be happy as a mother?
Anna, to be honest, let me tell you.
Answer that question first.
So, if my child comes and tells me, if my child comes and tells me, "Mommy, I am pregnant right now," and she's a teenager, let me tell you what's going to happen to me. Immediately, what I start to ask myself is, what do I need to do to equip? You said if my child comes and tells me
she's pregnant
before marriage.
Yes. She's about to get married.
Yes, and she's pregnant.
Yes.
Oh, let me tell you, in all honesty, remember when I talked about the issue for me, I will be disappointed. And I'll tell you why. I am not disappointed because she does not have her marriage certificates. That's not why. I am disappointed because in my own thinking, did you think about this? Did you make a choice, a willing choice? Were you honorable? Were you respectful to yourself to decide, I want to do this and have a baby? Or did you just let some guy fool you into getting this done? I go back to what I'm saying. It is important.
Intentional parenting. So
it is not just intentional parenting. No, that's not intentional parenting. That is being a whole human being.
It's not.
What I'm saying, that is being a whole adult where I am aware of my choices. And I make choices because I have dignity, honor, and respect. So my disappointment with my daughter would be, you did not treat yourself with honor and dignity and regard. Not that you do not have a marriage certificate. I think that the whole idea of, marriage certificate, I do honor marriage. I am in one, I repeat. But I also say having that certificate, like we say, is not a license for happiness. It's not a license for raising healthy, wholehearted children. The license The license for raising
license.
wholehearted children.
It's not a license, but it's a license to secure the future of my children. It's part of security.
And then what other security, darling?
So what if we are talking about money? Money, it's good.
Yes, it is.
Don't say financial security. And what about that?
Hannah,
money
again,
is
some people have said that the reason why abortion is on the rise, and most of these abortions are unsafe. Why it's on the rise? Because, you know, of course, most of the hospitals are ill-equipped, and even the doctors, some of the doctors carrying out these are quacks. That people say why unsafe abortion is on the rise is because the society has placed so much premium on marriage. So people that maybe are pregnant and about to have children out of wedlock are seen as people with bad upbringing or are in a way discriminated against.
They're being tagged like social misfits, right?
Yes. So that is why we now have this high rate of abortions, because they are now seen as being irresponsible for having babies outside
wedlock.
And we also have young people or even women dying because the abortion is not even done properly. Because society frowns against them coming out to say, I'm pregnant, would you accept me? It happened to me. I made a mistake. Would you receive me and my baby?
Women, most of these women getting pregnant, they are adults, for crying out loud.
Yeah, they're adults.
And should be accountable for
their actions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but when society puts so much pressure and they are too ashamed or too embarrassed to accept what has happened to them and say, you know what, this has happened. How do I move forward? That's the point I'm raising. What do I need to do to be able to give this child a life rather than kill this child? Then that becomes, whose challenge is that? That becomes a big societal, social problem. And we have that problem in our hands. We have a lot of young girls in that situation today. So when we just focus on...
if you have a lot of young girls in that situation today, then why are we encouraging being a single mother?
Addressing his issue.
No, it's true.
You're not addressing the issue.
We're talking about marriage before children.
Yes, and there are children.
Before children, for crying out loud. That's what we are addressing now.
And there are young girls pregnant with children. Because that is actually where, because if you have a society that is not receptive, now I'm not saying a society should encourage a young girl to sleep around and be careless and be having babies. That's not the conversation. I am saying that until we become a society that is balanced, that is thinking, and a society that knows that the child that is born is not the challenge. The challenge is that he had sex. It's not a child being born. Because a lot of times we rubbish them, oh, she has a baby. But 1,000,001 people, they are having sex, they are not having children, and they are getting married, and no one is talking. So is it the child, even when we, as people of faith, is the issue the child that is born before the marriage, or the fact that a lot of us had sex before we got married, and we are people of faith? Is that the issue? Is it the baby? That's my point. So while we keep talking about the certificate and the license and the certificate, let us put things in the real context.
My point is this. Now, what is the real context, if I may ask?
The real context?
What's the real context?
The real context is simple. Yes, marriage is honorable. Yes, a baby should be born within the context of marriage, especially when the two adults get in. Hold on.
Within the context of marriage.
And I had not finished. I haven't finished. You cut it short. A baby should be born within the context of a marriage where there are two responsive adults, not irresponsive adults.
Okay.
I go back to that again. Because when you bring the union of two irresponsive adults, we are setting the children, a lot of children we're actually setting them up for disaster.
For
total disaster. And we are now a society where you see adults who are incapable, who are psychologically incapable, emotionally incapable, absolute social misfits within the context of society raised by married couples. Please.
Okay, now let me ask this question. What would you say to a man who has said, my parents have said, any money I bring, because I was in a talk show, and the guy said, I had to impregnate his wife, as in the fiancé. Because my parents said, before I bring her home, she must get pregnant. Now, she must get pregnant. That's
so is that problem that guy? Is that problem the marriage?
Now what I'm saying is this.
Is the problem?
Children should be raised in the context
Anna,
of
let us
good
look at your
marriage.
example. I love this example.
No, wait.
Thank you for helping me with it.
No, I've not even finished now.
Finish.
I'm finished. Now, what I'm saying is this. For crying out loud, that is just an exception to every rule. That's an exception. Now, what I'm trying to say is this. Like you said children should be raised by two responsible adults in marriage. But now, whereby we have this test and buy syndrome marriage.
Anna, can we return to your example?
No, sorry,
because that example would help this conversation.
Test and buy syndrome marriage.
The example is test and buy.
I want to test. You want to test. You want to
agree.
Test one. So you have a man who tests here, today he tests here, tomorrow and he keeps testing everywhere because of Anna, it's not a problem. It's
Anna,
out loud.
So is the problem, Anna, is the problem
so what's
the marriage
solution?
Certificate, or the problem is the fact that we have an adult who is not able to stand in his own authority and his integrity and keep his penis inside his trousers and not mess girls around? What is that? I think that is the problem. The guy you talked about whose parents said, until she gets pregnant, you cannot marry her.
Because I'm going to your context of
excuse me. I talked about competence. That guy impregnating a girl because his parents say that already suggests that he's irresponsive to be a married man. So it is not whether he impregnated the girl first. It is that at that point, he was not even man enough to say, you know what? I'm not going to do this. I love her and I would marry her, and that is it.
So what would you say?
So what I am saying is the issue is not that he got her pregnant. The issue is that as an adult, he could not say no to his parents.
So now, what would you say? Now, my question is this.
So especially because that could be anything else. It could be his parents saying, come and live in my house with your wife. Don't get her pregnant. But both of you, we are so wealthy and we are so rich, and there is the boys' quarters. Can you live from here? It could be that. It could be that. It could be any kind of circumstance that the parents are nodding over him.
To a young lady who has 3 children from 3 different fathers? What? No, that's true.
And what I
3 different fathers. This father is Francis. This one's father is John. This one's father is Godwin.
Guess what?
3 different fathers.
The same thing.
Now, what? Wait, no, that is
what I would say. And Anna,
that's the problem.
Anna,
it's a social issue.
We have. Oh yes, and I love that you said that. And how do we solve social issues? Social issues are solved by getting married and getting married.
We should have children within the context of a good marriage. Not that today.
Thank you for saying a good marriage.
Yes, a good marriage. A good marriage.
Now listen.
That
girl. No, I need to respond to what you said. That girl who has children for Musa, Emeka, and Abiodun, 3 different men. Is her problem 3 different men? Is her problem that she did not get married to them? Or it is that, problem? I'm asking, is that the problem she has? Is the problem, is her challenge that she did not marry probably the first guy, Emeka, or the Musa, or the other guy? Or rather, is her problem not that in herself, there may be a sense of she may not be whole in herself as a human being. And her challenge is not that she did not get married. Her challenge is still her inability to be the human being that she wants to be, to say yes and to say no. By the way, that woman could have found herself in several circumstances.
Like what?
Where, for example, Emeka's father died. Where the first husband died. And she married a second man. And something happened. Anything happened. Anything could have happened. Anything.
That's really interesting, but
anything.
To break at this point, of course, members of the audience will ask you questions, make their contributions, and of course, comment on the topic today. That will be right after this break. You're still watching The Big Issue. Welcome back to The Big Issue. Well, it's time for members of the audience to weigh in on this very interesting debate. First is Adeosun.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I think I want to align with Anna's position against Rabo's position. You know, life itself has a pattern. There's a way God has structured our lives, just like a manual. If you have gone to buy a product, you expect to read the manual for you to have a safe landing when you want to operate the manual. Marriage is the way to go. If marriage is not set forward, the woman's life is insecure, and the man will have a crisis in the future, in the sense that when you have a marriage, both of you are already bonded. And as you are bonded, you are both expected to be responsible. If anyone is irresponsible, then the person has a case to answer, either to God or to the children in the future. That's why I support the view that you must be married. Most women you see around that were not married and they had their children, they always face lots of crises. As a teacher, I know what they pass through, where they come complaining here and there, and the man has gone, just like an animal. You know that when men are married, it's almost as if they are already tamed. They have to show responsibility. But if they are not married, they are untamed, they can always go here and there. That's why it's good for a man and a woman to be married. If a woman is not also married, she can also put the life of that man in danger. She can always go here and there to do whatever, just because she's not bonded. After, she can always say that, after I'm not married to you, you've not done the right thing. I'm still alone. You know, my parents still owe me. You don't owe me. But the moment both of them have actually performed the marriage right, both of them are responsible to themselves and the children and the family all together.
So can I respond to that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Fantastic. I'm sure we are all aware that the divorce rate within our society is on the increase. So this is the angle that I'm coming from. Maybe this is a good point for me to say that I started this conversation by saying I have 3 children and I'm married. And I think marriage is honorable. But I also do know that from the work that I do, that marriage is not a license to raising healthy, flourishing children. Particularly, you said marriage tames the human being. I think it does tame us a bit until you begin to interact and remember, and both parties begin to interact, and not, especially when they do not do something about the fact that they are 2 different adults coming from 2 different backgrounds, and they begin to fight and kill each other. So we do have children right now being raised within the context of marriage. Both the man is suffering, the woman is suffering, the children are suffering, everyone is suffering. My point here is, marriage is honorable, marriage is important, but I think a bigger and more important idea would be that individuals who decide to birth babies and bring children to the world, they should focus on developing capacity. Focus on, when I say to parents, for example, oh, I'm putting together a parenting class, that is the number one thing. They go, what's that? They don't want to put their money where their mouth is. Parenting is not instinctual. It is a learned skill. A human being thinks, feels, and then acts. What do we as married couples know about the emotional lives of ourselves rather than of our children? Of how behaviors happen? What do we know? What do we know? And we keep doing things within the context of marriage that hurt ourselves and hurt our children, and we are brandishing the certificate of marriage without skill. So my message is, and this is a clear message, whether you choose to get married or you find yourself in a circumstance where a baby is born, develop capacity.
All right.
My name is Oyakuba Eunice. We all know that marriage is an institution, and there must be commitment in every marriage. And as a mother, I will not see my daughter come home to tell me the man she wants to get married to, ask her to give him a child before they go into marriage. I will tell her point blank that guy wants to shortchange you, and I won't allow that.
Yes, I agree.
You agree? So
I agree to that.
So in the context of this discussion, will you allow your daughter to bring up children first before going to marry?
My own point and my own school of thought is, I think that as a people, I honor religion, I'm a Christian, and I'm saved by God's grace. But I also do understand that a lot of times we just brandish our faith and our religious beliefs out of context. I said earlier on, the same daughter that came to meet me to tell me he wants me to give him a baby, is she sleeping with him? What is the outcome of sex? Children are born. So if she's coming to tell me that and she's sleeping with him, I think she doesn't even have the license to start talking about, he said I should give him a baby. Because what you're doing with him already, like he talked about the fact that there is the way things work. God has already created, when a man has sex with a woman, the outcome of it is a baby.
Unprotected sex.
Okay, unprotected sex. Well, yeah. So what I'm trying to say, so if you choose now to dabble with the context of sex, that if we even want to take from a faith perspective, should be done within the context of marriage. And then you're coming to tell me he says I should have a baby first. Please don't even bother telling me. It tells me that, first of all, it's a value issue. It is not a baby issue. You should be honorable enough as a woman to say, I want to have a baby, or I don't. It is not that the fact that he's putting pressure on you and you're considering, the marriage is not the issue. He can put pressure on you on something else that is equally wrong, and you consider it. So I am saying we should raise adults who can say yes to what is right and no to what is wrong, and not just brandish morality as just the standard and say, because he said I should give. That's not the point. It's a bigger picture I'm talking about.
Okay, my name is Princess Ruth. And I want to say, first of all, that wedding, the party, is not marriage. Wedding, as a marriage, starts after the wedding. Okay, now, my question is, let me say, what do we tell to those young ones who find themselves in those situations where, okay, the pregnancy comes and their parents reject them and they don't have anything to do? Maybe those ones who find they've been dreaming, I want to get married, but maybe along the line, those kind of things. I know many young ones are out there who are in this condition and they don't know what to do because they've been dreaming of marriage, and at the end they are pregnant. At the same time, that's my question, and at the same time I want to advise, as we are growing as youths, we need to learn abstinence. We need to zip up, because if we don't zip up, man, lots of ladies will get pregnant, lots of guys will get responsible, and so many things will be happening. So we really need to zip up, and when we zip up, get ourselves principled. We need to be principled, because if you're not principled, man, you do so many things, and at the end of it, that's all.
I'm happy she mentioned that, because I remember I talked about the big issue not necessarily being the baby, the big issue being the fact that you even indulge in the activity in the first place. So a lot of times, while we keep, there are lots and lots of people who were extremely sexually active and were very fortunate they never got pregnant and they got married and nobody's talking. Yeah. But there are the same people who were not so fortunate, they probably even did it once and they got pregnant and there is a baby. And all eyes, everybody's pointing at them. So back to your question, for such a young person who you find that, oh, I made a mistake and then there is a baby. You know what the first I'm going to say? Accept the reality. It's happened. Stop judging yourself. You're not even alone. It's happened to the best of people. It's happened to the worst of people. Rather focus. That's the core message. Focus. Now that this baby is here, what options do I have? The bottom line is you cannot change what has happened, but you can do something meaningful with what has happened. It's happened. Get back your life, find your options, and move on.
All right, Anna, let me throw this in. You know, I told you earlier that marriage is not for everyone. There are some people that have not just been lucky in relationships, and most of their relationships have not led to marriage. Yes, and then of course age is not on their side. Sure. Probably they are now 35, 36, approaching. It could be a lady or even a man. And some of them would say, come, wait a minute. If marriage is not for me, how about having a child? And you could have two consenting adults decide that let's have a baby without necessarily getting married. What happens in that kind of situation? Will you say that is also an irresponsible decision?
Well, that's a personal decision, you know.
Irresponsible or not?
If it's my own opinion, my own school of thought, it's not responsible. It's not responsible. It's not responsible. It doesn't matter how you define it. It doesn't matter the color you paint it. What is black is black. What is white is white. For crying out loud, because I'm 35 years of age, 36 years of age, and so age is a number. Yes, it's a number. Fine, even if the biological clock is ticking. So who says you can't give birth at age older than that, you know? So for crying out loud, what I'm trying to say is this. Because ages, I met a lady. Now, this is a real life. I met a lady who she said, you have 2 kids now. See, I'm married 36, and she has lost 3 relationships because the people just kept saying that she must get pregnant before she got married. And she said because of her faith, She have faith that she can't do that, you know. And she was asking me, what's the advice? When I tell her, go ahead, go and get pregnant. I can never do that because it's like it can't. Because
Yes,
because,
yes. You know, like just like you're saying, the bigger concern in most of these situations is usually for the ladies who would say they are approaching menopause.
The ladies will be at the receiving end. No, yes, menopause comes in, but at the end of the day, the women. Always
but would it be a fulfilled? Excuse me, let me come in here.
Why is it that men? Why do men want to? If I know, before people get married, they go and do maybe HIV or AIDS test. Why do people not go and do seminal analysis tests? Let's go and test if your semen can put the baby. Let's go and test. Why is it always the woman? Why is it the man all the time? It's not.
I like that.
It's absurd.
Some people again have said that you won't feel fulfilled in life, be it as a man or as a woman, to come to this world and live without having an offspring.
But let me
so you can adopt if you want to. Sure, there's room for adoption.
For me, I think I will go back to the foundation. It's all about parenting. But for parents to be equipped, they have to have knowledge.
Thank you.
So that we can bring up leaders. It's all about leadership development. So that when the two of them come together, they can make informed decisions to get married. That's my own point of view. It's all about the foundation.
Yes.
So are you saying, in that context what you are saying, so are you saying we should have children before marriage?
He hasn't said that.
I'm not saying that we should have children before marriage.
Sorry, I'm asking. I want to understand your context now. You are saying parents are life coaches.
Yes.
Parents are not actually people in marriage. If you even check the dictionary, parents, if they say your parents, they are like your origin, your source. I think it's basically our own country that has that perspective. My lecturer when I was in the university, she's a German. Her husband is a Ghanaian. They are not married. She explained to us that they do it in Germany. It's just like contracts. I want to give birth for you, but I might not have, okay, they have 4 children. 2 bear the woman's surname. They bear Schlingman. Then the remaining 2, they bear the surname of the Ghanaian. So if the children, if they want to talk about, okay, this is my father, this is my mother, but they are not married, but they are their parents.
So,
all right, Hannah, I would like you to respond to that, Hannah.
No, just I want you to just hear yourself. Point out loud. 2, they have 4 children. 2 are bearing her own name. 2 are bearing the man's name. Is that not absurd?
Should I?
Is that not absurd? Point out loud. You know, how would I want to raise children? No, they will not be bonding because they are bearing different names. You are bearing Francis. These two are bearing something different. It's to me, it's not logical. It's abnormal.
I think everything boils down to the society. African society, everything has been so whitewashed. I'm not against the fact that marriage is an institution ordained by God, but we need to look at the bigger picture. How many individuals from different marriage have been able to survive, have been able to sustain themselves? The truth is that most people in society that end up becoming thugs and so many other things, they are from broken marriages. So if we keep saying marriage, that is not the question. That is not the question we need to be asking. The question is, are we raising responsible individuals? The people in a marriage, are they responsible enough? Do they have the adequate mental faculty to be able to raise individuals? So we need to look at the bigger picture and get over the whitewash of what society has painted for us to believe. That is my comment.
Fantastic.
You want to respond, Hannah?
Well, I quite agree with what she said, you know, raising up responsible children, you know, but I still stand to say that if you want to raise responsible children, raise them up in the context of a good marriage and a good home.
And to what she said, let me add, we now know that children thrive within the context of healthy social relationships. Healthy social relationships. That is what makes a child thrive, a human being flourish. So if my grandmother's house with my cousins, because something happened to my mother and she had me and she had to go back to school, it's a healthy social environment, I'm going to turn out okay. That's the point that I'm making. There are still, in this society, we're still going to have young girls and women who will find themselves in, and even men in circumstances that they perhaps, through their own error, created or that they did not create. As a society, I think that we must honor them, support them, and help them find options to raise whole and healthy adults, and not keep telling them that because you're not married, then you are doomed.
All right, then a round of applause for our debaters. Well, we'll take another quick break at this point, and when we return, it will be time to bring this show home. You're still watching The Big Issue. Welcome back. It's the final lap of The Big Issue. Well, ladies, your last take on this debate. You go first.
Okay, I'll say this.
Children before marriage?
Yes, marriage.
Or marriage and have children?
Marriage, and I still stand to say marriage and have children. Because as far as life is concerned, you know, we are all products of various homes. We are all products of various homes, you know. So when we have parents who are in, marriage, and you know, I believe in that having marriage first should come before having children. How would you see a fruit? Even before you see a tree, before you see a tree, the fruits. Trees are products of, you know, fruit. So if you're not saying children should come first before marriage, then there's a problem. It defies the laws of God that says, you know, children are products. You know, Bible says that the fruit of the womb is reward. Reward of what? Reward of a good marriage. Not reward of being special promises here and there. Reward of a good marriage, you know, is a part of the reward of a good marriage is what having is children. So children shouldn't come first. Marriage should come first. Then children will follow, because children are fruits of marriage.
Thank you. Therefore, your last take on this.
Thank you for quoting that scripture. That scripture says, how does it come again? It says, children are a gift from God. Then it says, the fruit of the womb is his reward.
From God?
Yes, I'm coming.
Yes.
No, children.
No, from God. Who ordained marriage?
Can I please? Children are a gift from God. The fruit of the womb is his reward. That just tells me something simple. For any human being born into this world, you're a gift.
Sure.
Donnie McCorkin, that we sing his songs, for Christ's sake, is a product of rape. He's a gift. If we go through history, so many people that we talk about that are thriving and doing well, they are products of circumstances that were beyond the control of certain women or certain men. So my point here is, I do honor marriage, and I mean one. However, I also honor every woman out there who has to deal with parenting a child alone. Every man who is struggling with being a father alone. And what I'm saying is, when you find yourself in that situation, you do not have your marriage certificate. It's sad, it's heartbreaking, but you do have a choice. What do you want to do? The focus should be, let us, even within the context of marriage and outside the context of marriage, develop capacity to be able to nurture the lives you're giving birth to. And not just brandish, I'm married, I'm married, I'm married, I'm married. No.
All right, then a round of applause for them again. Well, it's our custom on The Big Issue to bury our hatchet right on this stage. What happens on The Big Issue stays, of course, on The Big Issue. So I encourage both of you to just mend fences, shake hands. Shake hands. That's the essence of the show. Round of applause for them.
That's so good.
Thank you. On this show, we take no prisoners. Well, that's the show this week. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Of course, we can continue this conversation online. Connect us at TVC Connect on Twitter, and of course at TVC News NG. You can also follow me. My handle is at Femi Akonde TVC. Thank you all for watching The Big